and I
I
ended
ended
up
up
learning
learning
how
how
to
to
beat
beat
that
that
game
game
also.
also.
But
But
my
my
dad,
dad,
he
he
didn't
didn't
realize like
realize
I was
like I was
doing it
doing
like
it
in
like
the
in the
background.
background.
So like
So like
the one
the
day
one
he's
day
like,
he's
"All
like,
right,
"All
well
right, well
fine,
fine,
let's
let's
play."
play."
And it was
And it
Road
was
Rash
Road Rash
2, and
2,
I
and I
was
was
destroying him.
destroying him,
Like
like
destroying him,
destroying him,
just
just
busting him
busting him
over and
over and
over
over
again in the
again in the
game.
game.
And
And
that's kind
that's
of
kind
like
of
how I
like how I
started in
started in
video
video
games in
games in
general.
general.
Because then
Because
like
then like
after
after
that, my
that, my
dad's like,
dad's
"Hey,
like,
you're
"Hey, you're
pretty
pretty
good,
good,
so
so
like
like
you
you
could
could
just
just
play."
play."
So
So
I'd
I'd
play
play
with
with
him,
him,
and
and
he had
he
a
had a
friend.
friend.
So we'd
So
play
we'd
like
play
a
like
lot
a
of
lot of
old
old
school
school
games
games
like
like
Mario
Mario
and
and
Pac-Man,
Pac-Man,
which I
which
was
I was
pretty
pretty
good
good
at
at
too
too
back in
back
the
in the
day.
day.
And
And
I want
I
to
want to
say
say
around
around
12
12
or
or
13
13
is when
is
I
when I
got
got
into
into
my
my
first
first
Gran
Gran
Turismo
Turismo
game. It
game. It
was
was
Gran
Gran
Turismo
Turismo
2 for
2
the
for the
PS1.
PS1.
Um, I
I
actually
actually
used to
used to
play a
play a
couple
couple
games
games
at the
at the
same
same
time.
time.
One of
One
them
of them
was
was
RuneScape,
RuneScape,
and
and
RuneScape
RuneScape
had a
had a
lot
lot
of
of
like
like
AFK
AFK
type
type
of
of
things,
things,
right?
right?
Like
Like
you
you
cut
cut
wood
wood
or
or
go
go
fishing, and
fishing,
you
and
would
you would
just
just
do
do
nothing.
nothing.
So
So
I would play two
two
games on the
games on
side.
the
Like one
side.
of
Like
them
one of them
was
was
Gran
Gran
Turismo
Turismo
2, and
2,
the
and the
other
other
one
one
was
was
Pokemon Net
Pokemon
Battle.
Net
So I was
Battle. So I
always
was
like
always like
multitasking in my
multitasking in
room,
my room.
and
And
I don't
I
know. I
don't
don't know
know.
what it
I don't know
was.
what it
Like
was. Like
I
I
really
really
liked the
liked the
idea of
idea
trying
of
to
trying
drive
to
the
drive
track
the track
perfect. Like
perfect.
I never
Like I
was able
never
to
was
do
able
it,
to
of
do it,
course.
of
Like I don't
course.
think
Like I don't
anybody
think
could drive
anybody
the
could
track
drive the track
perfect, but
perfect, but
I always
I
liked the
always liked the
idea of
idea
doing
of
it.
doing it.
So then I
So
could
then
just
I
have
could
dad
just have
come in the
dad
room,
come in the
help me
room,
like
help
tune
me
the
like tune the
cars and set
cars
them
and
up
set
or
them up or
whatever,
whatever.
and
And then I would just try and
do the best I
do the
can to
best I
set like
can
the
to set like the
fastest laps.
fastest laps.
And
And
that's really how it
that's really how
started
it
with
started
me
with me
in racing
in
games, because
racing
then I
games. Because then I
gravitated from
gravitated
that
from that
to
to
NASCAR
NASCAR
2007.
2007.
I played
I
that
played
for
that for
quite some
quite some
time, and
time, and
I
I
used to
used to
win
win
a
a
lot,
lot,
like
like a
a
lot, a
lot.
lot.
I would
I
go
would go
like
like
whole
whole
days
days
without
without
losing a
losing a
single
single
race in that
race in that
game.
game.
And
And
it went from there
went
to
from there to
Forza, played
Forza,
that for a
played that
little
for a
while,
little
and then I
while,
just
and then I
didn't
just
play
didn't
racing
play racing
games for
games
like a
for
good
like a good
decade.
decade.
Um,
Um,
and I always
and I
said to
always said to
myself, like,
myself, like,
if when
when
I wanted
I
to
wanted
like
to like
stop
stop
playing
playing
or
or
traveling to
traveling to
compete, because
compete, because I used to
fighting
play fighting
games,
games,
and I
and I
traveled to
traveled to
Jersey,
Jersey,
Philadelphia, New
Philadelphia, New
York,
York,
Atlanta,
Atlanta,
Vegas,
Vegas,
like did all
like did all
these fun
these
things
fun
playing
things
fighting
playing fighting
games, and
games,
like
and like
I just
I
never
just
really
never really
got
got
successful at it.
successful at it.
Like
Like
there's
there's
just
just
better
better
gamers than me,
gamers
and
than
that's
me, and that's
okay.
okay.
So
So
when I
when I
finally
finally
stopped,
stopped,
I
I
went
back
back to
to
Gran
Gran
Turismo,
Turismo,
and
and
here
here
I
I
am.
am.
I
I
decided to
decided to
stream it
stream it
because
because
my
my
buddy, he
buddy, he
said
said
this.
this.
He said
He
a
said a
nice
nice
little
little
quote
quote
here.
here.
It's
It's
if
if
you're
you're
good at
good at
something,
something,
you
you
should
should
show
show
people and
people and
eventually,
eventually,
try to
try
get
to get
paid
paid
for it.
for
You
it.
know what I
You know what
mean?
I
Like
mean? Like
obviously
obviously
that
that
last
last
part
part
isn't
isn't
always the
always the
truth,
truth,
but
but
I've always been
always been
pretty good
pretty
at the
good at the
games.
games.
I'm a
I'm
solid
solid
racer
racer
for
for
sure.
sure.
So,
So
that's
that's
basically
basically
how it
how it
started.
started.
Yeah, and, you kind of touched on one of my next questions, which was, kind of which came first. Was it the competitive side or the streaming side? Obviously, the competitive side. And I've seen that you have done a lot of fighting games in addition to some of the Gran Turismo stuff that I've watched throughout the years, and that stuff's fantastic too. I mean, I think we all grew up, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, all those guys. So. Do you have a personal favorite out there? I know you mentioned some of those traveling tournaments that you would do. If you had to, if they took Gran Turismo away from you, what game would you probably move over to next?
Um, like
Like
as a
as
full
a
time
full
game,
time
like a
game,
game
like a
that I will
game that I
always
will
come
always
back
come
to
back to
play.
play.
Either
Either
RuneScape
RuneScape
or
or
the
the
best
best
monster
monster
genre
genre
game out.
game out.
Like
Like
those would be
those would
the
be
two
the two
games I
games I
play.
play,
Which is
which is
interesting
interesting
because
because
when I
when I
told you
told
I
you I
used to
used to
juggle
juggle
the
the
three
three
games,
games,
it
it
was
was
Gran
Gran
Turismo,
Turismo,
Pokemon,
Pokemon,
and
and
RuneScape.
RuneScape.
So
So
it's
it's
weird
weird
how
how
I
I
never
never
grow
grow
up
up
since
since
12
12
years
years
old.
old.
Yeah, I can relate. I mean, well, yeah, Gran Turismo has been such an iconic game throughout throughout our lifetime. It's one of those things to where some people can tell you about their memories playing Gran Turismo 1. I'm one of those. I mean, I remember back in the day, sitting in my brother's house and in the living room and driving, all the Subaru. I loved that they had the Subarus and some of the different tracks and things that they would challenge you with. Um, so, within Gran Turismo, would you say that you have a favorite aspect of the game, whether it be license tests, time trials. Obviously, I know you do a lot of daily lobbies as well. And then you've now, what we're seeing in current time is some of the leagues are going berserker. So is there a favorite portion of Gran Turismo that you like more than some of the other components of the game?
Um, I, 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 I feel like if you would have asked me this question like a year ago, I would have said time trialing for sure. But recently, like time trialing has been so flat for me. And what I mean by that is just like I gained tenths after 20 or 30 laps, and it's just not as big of gains that I used to see like say
a year
a
or
year or
so
so
ago.
ago.
So
So I would guess right now would just be the community.
I
You
have a
know, I
lot
have a
of
lot
great
of great friends that I've made in the
3 years
3 years I've been playing the game. I'm thankful to have all those people. Not only on my racing team, but the other communities as well. McNaughty's, Papa's community, like
they're
they're
really
really awesome.
So
So like that's my favorite part right now
is the
is the
community.
community.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'm one of those guys that love the time trials. I'm not afraid to get out there and race some folks, but the time trials is really where it's at for me. Oh, hold on, I might have lost something here. There we go.
I still
I
hear you.
still hear you. Just
Yeah, no, sorry. First try on OBS, so bear with me. And I think as I'm looking at the replay, I might have missed getting the intro in there. So for those of you guys who are just joining us, we are joined with ImMullet. We're very excited to see him back on the scene. And it was kind of exciting, even in, for example, the PDX Discord there. It was I've been a member of their Discord and followed their show for a very long time, mostly probably because you were making some appearances on there. Those guys are awesome. I love their show. If you haven't checked it out, you can find them on Spotify, YouTube. They're kind of everywhere. Dumb Guys Do Racing or DGDR. But I remember the day that all of a sudden you kind of popped up in chat, and it was almost like the chat just exploded. Did you have any idea that you were missed to that extent, while you were gone or when you came back?
um
Yeah,
I did,
and
and I missed
everybody
everybody
just as much,
just
to
as
be
much, to
honest.
be honest.
You know,
You know,
last year
last year
was
was
it's just a
it's
year
just
that
a
I'd
year
like
that
to
I'd like
forget.
to
You know what I
forget. You know
mean?
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So
absolutely,
absolutely,
I
I missed
missed everyone.
everyone.
Honestly,
It was
KP
KP
that reached
that
out
reached
to
out
me
to me
originally.
originally.
And when I seen the
And when I seen
message,
the message, I was just,
I was just like,
I was
man,
just like,
it's
man,
been so
it's been
long.
so long.
Yeah.
I think it was
I think it was
around,
around,
I think it
I
was
think it
around
was
ten
around 10
months,
months,
and I ain't gonna
and I ain't
lie,
gonna lie,
I wasn't
I
sure
wasn't sure I was
come
gonna
back
come
to it.
back to it.
But
But
he messaged me,
he
and then I was like
messaged me,
looking
and then I was
around.
like
I'm
looking
like,
around.
man,
I'm like,
I
man,
really
I
wanted to do
really wanted to do IRO
with the racing
with the
team.
racing
You know what I
team.
mean?
You know what I mean?
So
So
and I was just
and I was just
man,
thinking,
there's
like, man, there's more people that
probably would like to know
like
what's
what's
going
going
on.
on.
So
So
I put
I
the
put the
message out
message out
there.
there.
And
I guess
the
the
hardest
hardest part about
being
being
away
away
for
for
so
so
long
long
is
is to get back into it.
because once
Because
you
once
take
you
off
take
the
off the
first
first like
2 or 3 weeks,
weeks,
you
you
think to
think to
yourself
yourself like,
maybe
maybe
this
this isn't the
isn't the
path I want to go, maybe,
or
um,
um,
stuff like that. Like that just kind of gets in your head. So that's just
yeah.
always, it just gets harder and harder and harder to press the button to come back or to let people know,
like, hey, I'm
like,
still
hey,
here.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you personally that we have always been big fans, and I say we, myself, my family, my wife, my brother. Anytime you would run Manu, if it's one of those Saturday afternoons, we'd have you on a couple TVs, and it's just your content's great. Obviously, you've got very very high level of skill within the game. I feel like, generally speaking, every time I watch one of your streams, I pick something up, something I may not have learned before. And I think that's a good way to kind of segue into maybe the next section, which is talking a little bit about skill and driving skill and racecraft, and I my brother and I, Fred Bird, were talking about this the other day, and you have a very high racing IQ, and I'm trying to think of one of the streams you were doing, you were discussing the difference between some of the tire temps, whether it be day and night, and kind of how you were approaching strategy based on that. And that was one of those kind of aha moments for me. It was like, wow, I'm only thinking about like a third of what the game really requires of you to be successful here. And those are some eye-opening moments. So, can you talk to us a little bit about kind of how you developed that racing IQ? I mean, is it just over the years, paying very close attention to the people that are giving good advice, or where have you learned some of these things and grown your racing IQ?
Well, I'm a fan of the sport. I know I wear a Seahawks hat, but racing has always been like my number one sport I followed. I watched NASCAR from the time I was 5 up until 2023, and I boycotted 24 and 25. And then, I just watched the last two races. I'm going to watch the next one too, because they finally went back to a more reasonable point structure.
Okay.
I'm a recent F1 fan, and I've also been the IMSA fan for over a decade. So like watching those sports, you kind of get a knowledge from them, like what when they talk about tire temperatures and time of day and how they affect the tires and grip levels, and then you look at the game itself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and apologies to the viewers out there. Looks like we were having a touch bit of echo from Mullet. Mullet, I think I got that figured out. So apologies on that. You get to hear him twice. It's not going to hurt. It just helps it resonate a little bit more. Um, and I actually have a viewer question here. So Fred Bird has sent in a question for us. And there's a lot of setting discussions that go on with Gran Turismo 7 where and I've heard this as well. A lot of people say, well, it depends. Are there any tips that you can offer for newer drivers that are kind of like hard and fast rules where it's like, this is the absolute best way to do your setting? Yep.
become a victim of um, relying on those assists to get around the track, if that makes sense. But that's really like my big advice. A lot of the times I see, especially I remember I think it was like last year, the year before, when I started the Willie B account. I was going back up through the ranks, and I have a pretty good memory. Like I can remember a lot of things throughout my past, like almost photographically. But I remember seeing a lot of the same names that I saw the first time I went up through the ranks, and I'm just like, man, these guys are still here. They're not really improving, and it makes me think like it's because they rely on these assist settings and they get stuck or plateau in a spot where they can never improve. If you don't challenge yourself to improve, or if you don't challenge yourself to get better, you will always stay the same. It's just the way it works. Oh, I can hear you, bud.
Really kind of crazy to look at those two aspects of it and understand how time in the seat really makes an enormous difference when it comes to some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just like there's a saying like if you put 100 hours into something, you're gonna be like better than 99% of the people that didn't put 100 hours in. So if you just over and over and over again, you're just gonna keep gradually getting better at it. I mean, you could test that for yourself. Pick any track, pick your favorite track, right? Pick your favorite track. Do one lap on it that you feel comfortable. Write the time in, and then put 100 hours on that track. And then when you do that, compare your own lap time.
How do you manage risk?
I can still hear you.
Okay. When you're setting up a move, you're on track.
So I guess there's a couple of factors in it. If I know that the person ahead of me is quick enough not to slow me down, or like quick enough to like gap me, like I'm not gonna force a move because I know the fastest way for me to finish the race is not making moves. You know what I mean? So say Simon's ahead of me. Shout out Simon. Our world tour driver, my good friend. He and him being in front of me, I just know that I could just run my lap and whatever happens happens. If it's a last lap type of situation, then I'm going to race him hard. But if there's 10 laps left or 5 laps left, and I got third place or fourth place, wherever we're at on the track, just kind of breathing down my neck, like I'm not going to force anything. And that kind of goes with it. Like if the guys around that I'm going to pass, like if they're around my pace, sometimes I'll force the move. If they're slower than me, I absolutely force the move. So it's just kind of one of those things where I'm gauging how fast the person is. I did a pass recently, which I am going to make it short of. I haven't forgot, but it was at Deep Forest, where I just kind of swung it out on the outside on Vogs, and did like a 2-for-1 on T1. Like I made that move for two reasons. One, I was frustrated with the lobby crashing and doing like this crazy thing, and number two, I just knew I was quicker than them, regardless of the regardless of the situation. I knew if I got in front of them, like either one of them weren't gonna be able to slow me down. So that's why I make the move. And a lot of the times too, like I try to force the mistake. Like you've watched my streams plenty enough. I'll just be like, oh, I'm gonna go fake on the inside, And I've gotten quite a few high level players with that. Like I'll make it look like I'm gonna go into to a dive bomb type of move, and then at the last second I go right on the racing line, and I see a whole lot of understeering going into that corner by the guy ahead of me. Lack of patience. That's sometimes people in the mid pack, they aren't seeing the big picture, because that's the most exhilarating part of the race is usually at the start of the race when everybody's bunched up. You got people pushing too wide going into T1 on that opening lap, and nobody's kind of like sorted themselves out. So like the biggest mistake I see these guys doing is forcing a situation that isn't going to work. The dive bomb, from 3/10 back going into a turn, sliding up into people, and making them lose out. I think another mistake some of these mid pack drivers do is following the guy in front of them. Like they'll just get fixated on the rear bumper of the guy in front of them, and that guy makes a mistake, and they just kind of do the same mistake because they're no longer driving their own race. They're watching somebody else do their own race. You know what I mean? So they just end up making the same mistake. And I would say those are the two like biggest things that I see. You know what? I would say when you're gonna go for the pass, right? If you're gonna go into a sharp, heavy braking zone, try to widen the car less. Because what I see a lot happen is the contact going into the turns. Widen the car a lot less, and then just park it on the apex where they can't just do a switchback on you. That'd be one thing that could improve everybody's racecraft. If you're gonna send it on the inside anyways, everybody's gonna do it.
Right.
Just instead of putting so much pressure on you and the guy on the outside for contact, give yourself a little bit of space, hold that apex on the inside, and then drive off with a nice steady throttle input, and you'll be able to make passes better.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really took away from some of the time that I got to spend with you was slow can be fast. I was really pushing hard in the very beginning, thinking, you just got to go, 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 go. And that was something you really helped me work through. So it's definitely changed how I race, and some of the results that I've been able to get from that as well. So again, thank you for the help on that. So we all know that racing at a high level can be very mentally draining, and you've mentioned Simon, who we know is a World Tour driver, and honestly, I think you've certainly got an opportunity to get yourself among those ranks as well if you can get some of these Gran Turismo World Series to go a little bit better for you. I mean, I know I watched your last stream, and I can put up some of that gameplay here to kind of show people. But talk to us a little bit about some of the things you're trying to focus on with the Gran Turismo World Series. I mean, it feels like from my perspective that you're taking a very good mental approach where, hey, you just might not win all these, but that's okay. Talk to us a little bit about your approach when it comes to Gran Turismo World Series.
Well, this past World Series, I really took a casual approach to it because I haven't been putting a lot of time into it, you know. So I picked the Corvette. I didn't really look at tiers. Simon and Shaq, KP were all telling me not to pick it, but I picked it anyways because I don't listen. It wasn't the best car. So I was already out of most races. One I didn't want to admit, which was Nürburgring. I thought it would be much better at Nürburgring. It was not. But really, like, what I found myself this time around, I kind of fixed a old habit. So this summer, like, I want to see exactly how high I can get, when I have all the time to practice. I want to see how high I can get, and then just kind of re-gauge what I want to do with the World Series. Because I mean, really, it's just for me, it's fun. It's a serious race, it's a serious environment. So you get better racing and you get better strategies out of that than like your typical daily. But I'm not sure exactly where my ceiling is right now. Again, if you asked me this a year ago, I would have just told you, like, all right, I'm just trying to win my split because I knew where I was then. But right now, I really can't tell you where my
I think it's a little
ceiling is. I think it's a little higher than I thought it was. So when it comes to the World Series next year, I think I might just take it a bit more
Yeah,
seriously
we're
than
definitely
I ever
looking
did
forward
before.
to seeing that. Like I said, I'm
You got
certainly
me?
Omaha?
Omaha, 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 Omaha.
I th- oh, I th-
Let's try and switch back here. Can you hear me
I
now?
think the disc.
I could hear you.
Okay.
I could hear you.
Yeah,
I could
this
hear you.
OBS, man. I tried to.
Are we
tried to-
still
Are we
live?
still
we
live?
are still live as far as I can tell. I tried to switch to show some
Okay.
gameplay footage, and OBS did not like it. So we're gonna stick here with this screen and just
Okay.
keep rolling through some of the questions. I
Okay.
think it's fair to say that I'm probably one of your biggest fans out there. I mean, there's just something about good racing that I enjoy. I mean, you, Paco. I could sit here and name 100 different people that I enjoy watching. Um, you know, your commentary is always very good. You stay very level headed. And I think that goes a long way to being able to say, hey, check this guy out. He's very good. You probably are going to learn something through his stream. Are you racing any differently now than you were, say, a year or 2 years ago?
I am.
I am.
Again, it's just one of those things where like I said, I knew where I was. It's like, for instance, I would get in a race with KP, and I would just immediately be like, all right, well, I'm finishing second this race. But recently I've been finding myself running or matching, his pace and in some laps better. So I just really can't tell you because I really am excited to see what happens this summer. I'll just say that, as I want to see exactly where the ceiling gets. I will say the biggest difference is I had a habit of releasing the brake in corners. I would apply the brake pressure, and as soon as I'd get to the end of the braking zone, I'd be releasing the brake instead of trailing in all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've fixed that habit. Like, I don't know if it was from the long break where I'm always thinking about what I should be doing right, but I'm doing that right. on a lot of the corners that needs to get done. So that's the one big difference right now that I can see.
Okay. Yeah, that's just touching on something that can be a pretty deep rabbit hole for a new driver. But if you haven't done any research on trail braking, look that up. There's a ton of great videos out there. I want to say Lead Pencil's got a very good one. There's a lot of good content that can help you get better at trail braking. And Mullet, do you want to just kind of talk through, real high level what the theory on trail braking is for the viewers?
Well, really, it just transfers the weight to the front so you can get more grip in your front tires to turn in. So like heavy on the brakes, and then you're releasing it, say, to 45, 35, 25%. It allows you to brake, slightly later, and then adding it makes the weight distribution go to the front of the car to give you added grip, to turn in.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to forget that a tire can do one of three things. It can accelerate, it can slow down, or it can turn. When you start combining those two things and trying to get it to brake and turn, that's when you get into a lot of trouble, and it escalates very quickly when you're trying to do too many things at once. So, one thing that I've always taught myself is just keep it simple, don't try to do too many things at once, and remember, Gran Turismo, for example, it's a simulator, right? It's not a video game, and it's easy to get in there and think, oh well, I'm just going to treat this like a video game, because that's the wrong mindset. You have to treat it like a real car on a real track. Would you agree?
Yeah, to some extent.
Okay.
I think I treat it more in the middle, because it is a game at heart. You know what I mean? It is a video game at heart. It is also, it does its best to simulate what the cars do in real life. So you got to use the real life knowledge in order to get better at the video game. So I like I said, I agree, like in some sense. But the one thing that you could do on the video game you can't do in real life is to find the limits of the car and smash it up as many times as you want. In real life, you maybe you only have one car, so you're gonna take it a little bit more safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and not have to pay for the repairs, right? I think that's a big advantage.
There's
and
like a
it's also probably
there's like a track. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
There's like this track thing that you can do up a Pocono where you get to drive like a stock car. And I've always said to myself, if I ever did that, I'm sending it 100% around Long Pond. Whatever happens, and I'm sure the driver instructor is going to be really, really mad at me. But I am sending that.
Yeah, no, it's I've been lucky enough to do some actual track days in a regular car, and it's an eye opener. And you think, oh well, this is no problem. I can do it in the video game. And a lot of times when you get out there and start feeling the G forces or feeling the limits of the car, it can certainly be a different world than what sitting in a stationary seat without any haptic feedback or things like that. It makes a big difference. So. Have you ever considered doing a motion sim?
No.
Yeah, just wait.
No, I get. It's not even the cost thing. Even if I had the money for it, I wouldn't even consider it, because that's just too much. I get motion, like not real bad, but I do get motion sickness, and I don't like the way it feels. Like same with VR. I jumped down a ledge playing the Batman game in VR, and I almost threw up. So like all I did was jump off, like it was like a 2-story drop. It wasn't that bad, and I'm just like, oh, it's a little too much. I also tried this like roller coaster scary game in it, and they had like this loop-de-loop. Like as soon as I got to the top, I was all right, and then the drop came. I had to take the VR off, and I was sick for a good half hour. So I mean, and I could immediately see the motion of my rig knocking, this 300-pound man around, and I'm just gonna, oh, I'm gonna turn green.
No, I can certainly empathize with that. VR is not something I do for that exact reason. It doesn't work well with my body, and you got to understand that. So let's shift gears just a little bit and talk a little bit off track, and then we'll shift back to some community stuff here before we close out. Um, in 3 words, how would you describe yourself?
Dad, number one. Uh, Resilient. Um, and strong.
Okay, very good. I just from being a spectator, um, your dad world comes through very strong, right? It's obviously important to you that you're a family man, and we certainly respect that. So that definitely comes through in your streams as well. What does a normal day look like for you when you're not racing? Work, kids, food?
Well, wake up early, around sometimes before, sometimes after. I want to try and do before, but I have a hard time sleeping at night, so it almost never works. But I wake up at 6 a.m. Shower, get ready, get the kids ready, go off to work for 7. And it's not that I do a hard job. It's a job I just take very seriously. I'm a security guard out of school, and sure, I have a lot of downtime, but at the same time, I always think to myself, like, if I ain't ready in a situation, then bad things could happen. Then when we get home around 3:30, it's the daily argument with the wife. What are we eating? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. Hey, do you like this? No, not that. That type of thing with the wife.
Same here. Yep.
And then then it's homework and talking with the kids. Sometimes it's a sporting event. Both my kids are student athletes. One, thankfully, is only one student athlete where he just plays basketball. However, the other one, he's doing bowling. He's supposed to do baseball. However, he signed up for tennis instead. And he's also a football player, so that is taking up as much time as it could there. And speaking of the football player, I just just bought him a rig for his birthday. He put it together. He's all ready to go for NASCAR Thursdays.
That's awesome.
He's probably gonna be very into racing games here for the next couple of years, and I'm hoping. I don't. Here's the thing. Like, I don't really want to flood him with all this knowledge up at first. Really, I just give him little tidbits here and there, and just hope he has fun.
Yeah.
Trying to teach him the high line at Homestead. He was like driving it into turn 2 and it turn 1 and turn 3, like just driving it in deep, and like he was losing time and getting frustrated. So I'm like, oh, you want to trail the brake a little bit and keep it on the high side, wait for the corner to get to you, and then ease on the gas. And he's just like, huh? So like, really, it's just like trying to teach him those type of things, and hoping that my daily will be just coaching him. Then like basically after that we eat and sometimes spend time with the family, and off to bed we go to do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, and I remember watching your streams back in the day. You had another rig that was sitting behind you, and I forget, did you end up giving that one away?
I had to get rid of it. So again, like I made the combat 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But I also have a very strong lower half of my body. I ended up bending the bars that connected to the brake plate from braking. So like that thing was all like mangled. And I'm sure when you watch like my earlier streams, I look like so crowded. Trying to drive in that thing. So yeah, like that thing was just like mangled. So I ended up getting rid of it and I could have probably got some money for this deal, but my buddy was like really good at flipping things, so he just took it and flipped it somewhere. Yeah, so ended up getting him a new folding one, which it said that the takes around an hour to assemble. I was sitting there watching him assemble, and I would ask him like, "Hey, is that the right way that goes?" And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, yeah." So I'm like, "Okay, right." So I'd let him finish putting it together, and then I'd grab the instructions, like, this piece is backwards. So then, like, you have to take it. So you take it apart and have to like turn it around. And basically, it was just teaching them like where it comes with fun, and also just to like make sure before you're certain, and make sure that before you think you're right that you're actually right, type of stuff.
Yeah, that good dad advice for sure. And I think that is a good segue kind of into my next question. You know, we've been involved with a lot of different racing leagues and organizations and different things on the sim side. And as with anything, there can be toxic, different things that happen. Tell us a little bit about how you deal with some of those toxic moments, whether it be online, whether it be on stream, on track, without letting it affect you, because you always seem very even keeled to me.
So what are they gonna do if somebody comes into your stream and just starts? Can I curse? Like, I'm about to curse.
Yeah.
So if they come in, if they come into your stream and just start talking shit, right? You just say to yourself, like, what's the worst that could happen to me in this situation? Like, they can't reach through the screen and smack you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they honestly don't affect you. And this is why I said, like, one of the three qualities is strength. It's not really like strong physically, it's strong, like, I don't let these things get to me. Like, no matter what anybody says on the internet, no matter what anybody says to me, behind a screen, it's not going to affect who I am or what I'm doing at that moment. So like, even the stuff that I dealt with, with people that I thought once were, close friends in the community, like, even that, I just said to myself, like, all right, the situation would have been different if he lived across the road or up the street.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and the only thing that you could do is just move forward and not let it like break you down. So again, no matter what they say, it's not going to affect who I am. You could call me any name in the book. If you're not getting a reaction, you're the one that's looking like an idiot.
Yeah, really, really good input there. And for those of you guys out there thinking about doing streaming, thinking about racing, take very close note of that, because that's very good advice. Let's shift gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about the community and kind of touched on the negative side of the community, but that's just a minuscule piece of the Gran Turismo community. Tell us a little bit about what the GT7 community means to you.
I especially my racing team, the guys I play with, I don't just consider them like GT7 members. Like, I consider them friends. So like Shaq, KP, Ryder, Varial, McRacer, Simon, Boku, like those guys, even RJ a little bit, Sloth, like those guys right there, like they're friends to me. Like they're not just GT7 players, they're friends. Hakai, Philo, they're friends. Everyone else, like, beside them, like the way that I feel about it is that they are a part of something that's very fun on the internet. Like, I get that there's toxicity, but like I do generally like the Gran Turismo community.
Yeah.
Really, the only time people get mad at each other is, generally speaking. I know that we got like the YouTube drama going around, spiraling all over the place, but uh, like generally speaking, people only get mad when you get into the Gran Turismo fender benders.
So
So
it's
it's
really
really
a
a
nice
nice
place
place
to
to
be.
be.
I
I
like it
like it
here.
here.
I
I
like
like
the
the
people,
people, the
again,
again,
the
the
channels,
channels,
the
the
McNaughty
McNaughty
community,
community,
the
the
Papas
Papas
community.
community.
Those two
Those two
communities
communities
are very,
are
very
very
good.
very good.
Mhm.
Um,
So
so
uh, I would
I would
say
say
that it
that it
means a
means a
lot to
lot to
me.
me.
I
I
couldn't
couldn't
really
really
put a
put a
word
word
to
to
say how
say how
much,
much,
but
but
again, I
again, I
got
got
several
several
really
really
good
good
friends
friends
out of
out of
it,
it,
and
and
everyone
everyone
else,
else,
are
are
just
just
people I
people I
like
like
being a
being a
part
part
of.
of.
Like if
Like
we
if we
had a
had a
Gran
Gran
Turismo
Turismo
con, I
con, I
would
would
go
go
there and
there and
just be
just be
like,
like,
"Hey,
"Hey,
what's
what's
up,
up,
everybody?
everybody?
What's
What's
going
going
on?"
on?"
We
We
just
just
have a
have a
blast.
blast.
Yeah, that man, I think you're onto something with the Gran Turismo Con. That would be awesome. I mean, and maybe that's the Gran Turismo World Series. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but there's a lot there. And just to share some perspective, I mean, for me, sim racing's one thing, but the Gran Turismo community is a whole different one. And I don't say this lightly. I mean, the community itself really has more or less helped me save my life. There was a period of dark days, and being able to get in and just kind of disconnect, watch some people race. I spent a lot of time watching your stream, McNaughty's stream, Rory, obviously, everybody knows him. And there's so much out there. You can just engulf yourself in that, and a lot of positive influences that are out there. And I latched on to you and McNaughty, obviously being local. I say local, but United States guys, right? There's a lot of people around the world that do this, and for me, it was like I want to find somebody local that maybe I can actually connect with, and it's gone such a far away for me. I mean, I'm so far past those dark days now to where, now we've got NRL, we've got PHG World Series. There's so many leagues out there. And, for me, I'd love to compete against you guys in those leagues, but I simply do not have the seat time to put in to be able to get my lap times down. So let's shift gears. Let's start talking about some leagues a little bit. Have you been watching some of the different things, whether it be PHG, BHRL? Have you been kind of keeping up on some of the league happenings going on up until now?
So
So I
rewatched
rewatched
the
the
last
last
few
few
seasons
seasons
of
of
NRL.
NRL.
I
I
watched
watched
some
some
the
the
PHG
PHG
races
races
I
I
couldn't
couldn't
attend
attend
to.
to.
Like
Like
I
I
wanted
wanted
to
to
try
try
and
and
attend
attend
more
more
of
of
them,
them,
but
but
work
work
and
and
other
other
avenues
avenues
outside of
outside
the
of the
game
game
just
just
kind of
kind of
got in
got
the
in the
way.
way.
So
So
Yeah.
I
I
couldn't
couldn't
compete.
compete.
There's
There's
a
a
couple
couple
of
of
fast
fast
guys
guys
like
like
I'd
I'd really like to race and give them my all, and that's Jorge and Lid. But
but
I just haven't been able to get like the actual time to go and do it. So PHG, NRL, and then the big one, my favorite one at the moment is IRO. IRO has been a fantastic experience. Again, I get to do it with my friends. I take that pretty seriously. It's long races, the driver changes. Like you really have to work as a team to win these things. So that for me is a big plus. Uh, you know, in less of the World Series, I'll be 100% honest with you. I watched zero streams of GTWS from anybody. Excuse me. Besides like the races that I did, and the races that I was shown to by like Simon. I didn't watch any World Series, so IRO and PHG and NRL are higher for me than the World Series at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of us are. I mean, the Gran Turismo World Series is good, but if it was at the same time as an NRL race, no doubt about it, I'm watching NRL. And chances are I'm not going to go back and watch the Gran Turismo World Series. Where if I miss NRL, I always go back and watch. So I think that's one of the exciting things that McNaughty has kind of helped create with with the NRL. So it brings me to one of my next questions that I'm really excited to hear the answer for. Will you be running in the next season of the NRL?
So I really, really, really want to. I really want to. However, I still got to make sure that my schedule is going to work out for it. I have a few more days to sign up, 7 more days, right? So I think in a few days we're going to get the schedule for these upcoming weekends. But I will say I'm 50-50 on it. Me personally, I want to do it. I do. Again, I think me, Win, and Jorge is going to put on a show because those two guys are going to get the best of me. They're not just going to get, a lax version of me, driving. Like, I'm going to give them my best. And, they're two champions, and they're very fast, and they're very good. So, we'll just say, let's hope. All right. Let's hope the cards work for the schedule because, again, dad life comes first. As much as I want to do these things, like dad has to make sure kids are happy. Kids can't be happy without food.
Yeah, no question about that. And that's exciting. Hopefully you can make that work. And for those of you guys who don't know, Mullet is a NRL champion, season 2 and 3 back to back. So again, looking forward to seeing if you're going to be able to get back in that. Now that I'm hearing you're going to be in the IRO as well, I may get an opportunity to do some commentary with those guys. So that's an exciting league. I mean, it's a little bit different, right? And I mean, you did the MTS series. I personally enjoyed that quite a bit. I did a little bit better in that than I thought I would. But as you look at the different leagues out there, is there anything that you would like to see different than what we have today?
No. And I say that because you're all doing it wrong. And I guess this is kind of cocky in a way, but I'm pretty sure I figured out the best way to do these things in this game. And I love that you brought up MTS because I'm just going to let you and everybody know that MTS is coming back in a big way.
Oh, baby.
And it's going to be consistent. It's going to be, the best racing series that anybody can get into. The format just works. The way it's ran just works. You're gonna have a really good commentating duo. Shout out to Shaq. So you guys are all doing it wrong, and I'm not gonna help you fix it right now because I'm telling you, I can't wait till MTS is on the map and moving.
Well, that's absolutely exciting. I know, in doing some of my homework, I did go back and watch one of your old streams where you were, I think it was just after season 3, and you had some, kind of thoughts. You were very kind to the commentators, so thank you for that. And I think some of the feedback things that you had given were kind of around some of the tediousness that goes into drivers preparing. I think the example you had given was NERB qualifying, for example. So I'm assuming those are some things that you're keeping close to the vest for the next MTS series then.
Oh yeah, I'm going. It's so listen. Like I get that it's exciting to watch chaos. It really is, right? I'm going to do the best I can to limit the egregious things that the game can throw out at you. A good example of good races that I've been seeing get put out is Shaggy. I think Shaggy's done a phenomenal job with that PHG series. He's made some really, really interesting combos to watch and to race in. So shout out to Shaggy. And that's gonna be a lot of my approach. Like the things that people will practice in MTS is going to be close to when
for race day. There's a lot of random things that can happen. And listen, it's nobody's fault about what happens at Nürburgring. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Nürburgring, the way that the game sets it up, they got 400-mile-per-hour storms that come in, which makes amazing sense to me, because a 400-mile-an-hour storm, just wrecks havoc in real life. So like, these storms just come flying in, 50 miles away and clears it in 3 minutes,
Right.
So like those things right here, that's not what people are gonna end up facing. Again, it's nobody's fault when it comes to those tracks. Everybody wants to have like a fun race there with weather conditions, and the weather is done pretty decent, pretty well in Gran Turismo. So people want to, they want to either drive it or spectate it. Again, I'm just going to do the best I can to make the league driver friendly, where the drivers enjoy it maybe more than the spectators.
I think that's important because we've seen that there are some of these leagues where they might not have a full grid. And that's tough. I know the drivers out there want good competition as well. So, I think the other thing that can be a challenge for a league is sometimes you've got a situation where, one driver is just doing so well that a lot of guys can't keep up with him. So, the combos and the cars and the tracks and all that can make a huge difference in that. Is that something you've kind of considered when trying to think of how you're going to create the next MTS?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, if the fastest person is, the fastest person, regardless what you throw at him, he's gonna figure it out. Unless he's just not strategic, enough. Like some people, they don't think about the race as a whole, and they just think about like how fast they can run one lap, and then just try to repeat that over and over again. And sometimes that strategy will work, if the race doesn't have thinking to it. But again, if they're the fastest and they do think a little bit, like they're going to be the fastest regardless. So yeah, I think about that, but hopefully enough high level, mid level drivers see this format, and they come in. The way the points are structured out in MTS gives a lot of mid level drivers a chance to make the final race. And that there in itself, it'll be really hard to be on the final grid over and over and over again. The final grid is difficult to stay on, because the format puts the top 4 drivers facing top 4 drivers of the other lobby. And if we've got 3 lobbies, we'll figure it out that way too. But it's the top drivers versus the top drivers, each level going through. Bottom will face the bottom, mid will face the mid. So that's just the way things work on a round by round basis. So you have one bad race, as a top guy, you're going to be fighting to try and get into the final lobby.
Yeah, and that's what I really loved about it the first time you ran it through. And I can remember when you first introduced it, Fred and I were talking, and it's like, well, 2 out of the 3 tracks I was comfortable at, and it's like, all right, well, you know what, I feel like I might be able to compete. So that really was the thing for me. It's like, okay, are these tracks that I feel like I can compete at, or am I going to have to spend 25 hours prepping to just hang with some of these guys? So that was huge, and I'm still tickled that I made it to the finals. I didn't expect to be in that group, but I got myself in there, and it was so much fun. I cannot wait to see the announcement for that. How much longer do we need to wait before you formally announce when that's going to be starting?
I'm shooting for June.
Okay. Very cool. All right.
Yeah, I'm shooting for June. I'm not sure if it's going to be a early month thing or an end of the month thing. I'm still working out a couple of things. I want to try and align the schedule up with IRO the absolute best I can. So we'll see. That announcement will be coming here in a month or 2. I already got the combos somewhat sorted out, so stay tuned.
Okay, that's fantastic. Is there a potential to see a world tour driver in that league? Can you give us some 50-50 maybe?
I'll say 90% chance we'll see a World Tour driver in that
That's
race.
fantastic. How awesome. Okay.
90% chance.
Okay. Wow.
And if he gets around to watching this, he's just going to be like 90.
Yeah.
You better say
You better say 100.
Wow. How exciting, giving guys a chance to maybe go out there and test your skills against a world tour driver out there. Simon, for those of you guys who don't know Simon, if you ever come across him, he's one of the nicest people you're ever going to meet. Just super cool. Check out his interview on DGDR. He talked about
He did awesome in that interview, by the way. He was like, no offense to the PDX guys, but Simon was the show. I love the PDX guys. He stole their show for sure, Simon. Shout out to him.
Yeah, absolute shout out to Simon. Exciting watching his journey. I can still remember McNaughty telling the story about like, hey man, you're pretty quick. Have you ever thought about GTWS? And Simon's like, maybe I'll try it. Yeah, I don't know. So, and here we are.
Yeah, no, me and Simon used to be up till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning just finding a couple tents here on the daily races. So just to see him be successful, he's right now my second favorite Gran Turismo player, only to my son. So shout out to him and everything that he's accomplished and everything he will accomplish. He's been exciting to see his growth and the things that he's been able to do. And again, I can't wait to see this next World Series because he's going to be there again. And I know he's going to be more confident. He's going to come stronger. So look out to the rest of those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he had kind of a tough debut in the first one, and only so much you can do in some of those situations, but he handled it very well, very graceful. And from my perspective, it seemed like he just kind of chalked it up to a learning experience and said, no problem, I'll be back stronger next year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have gone through the entire gauntlet of questions that I had. So, Mullet, well done. Thanks for hanging in through some of the technical difficulties. Sorry to the viewers out there. We got them all straightened out here at the end. So hopefully you were able to hear Mullet. I think I was muted for some of it, but that's okay. You don't need me. So, Mullet, let's close it out. We'll go through a little bit of rapid fire, and then I'll let you get on with your Sunday activities. So, what do I got here? 2, 4, 6, 8 quick little questions that we'll go through, and then I'll open it up if there's anything else you want to throw in. What's your favorite track on GT7?
On GT7 right now, it's Bathurst.
Bathurst, okay. What about your least favorite track?
My least favorite track, Lego Maggiore.
Oh, okay. I did not expect that, but that makes sense. Any particular layout there?
All of them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Favorite car in GT?
And shout out to Dragon's Trails Garden too, because that could go right with Lego and get rid of that also.
Cheers to that. Yeah. Do you have a favorite car in GT7?
The Corvette C7R.
Yep, that's what I knew. Well, and let me pause from the quick, the quick fire. If you were going to go out and win the lottery and buy a car, is that the first car you're buying?
I'd buy a C8.
Okay, very good. Tire strategy, safe or risky?
Risky.
All right. Qualifying, 1 lap or banker lap?
1 lap.
Okay. Night or day race?
Day.
Rain or dry?
Dry.
Yeah. Say if you say rain, Shaggy's gonna go nuts. Chase cam or cockpit? And I already know the answer to this one.
So listen, I would say cockpit, right? Chase cam is better, and I'm not really a huge fan of cockpit in in racing games because I'm already looking at a screen.
Right.
So for me, it's always going to be hood view. I'm already looking through my windshield. Why am I going to look through two?
Exactly. I agree. The cockpit's cool. I can't. It's just not my thing. I want as much view as I can get, and it seems to take some of that away from you. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, if they could somehow get the immersion right, where like I could see from like a rounded type of view, and then like the way that you see like I drive every day, right? I could see the front of my car. All right, like why is it all these racing games where you're trying to play cockpit, like you can only see the dashboard, like you're like driving and only your eyes go over the wheel? Like, come on.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point, and it seems like they've gotten it right for the VR guys. So maybe they can try and mesh
Yeah,
some of
that
those
looks
two
pretty
together.
good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would agree. All right. Well, Mullet, anything else you want to talk through here before we close out and get on with the lovely Sunday that we've got going here?
Just I am back. All right, I'm back to stay. I still got things to work out to be back at a more consistent period of time. Shout out to Go Instinct, all my friends there. Shout out to the communities that I've already mentioned, Papa, McNaughty, shout out to the PDX guys. Don't let me forget them. And I hope everybody has a great Sunday and a great week of racing coming up.
Awesome. Mullet, thank you so much for taking some time and helping me kind of break in this OBS here. It's always an honor to get to chat with you. I'm probably going to be the leader of the fan club here, so keep me in the loop with anything you've got coming up. I'm happy to help in any way I can. And other than that, we will be watching for that next stream, that next broadcast that you put out there. Hopefully, we get to see you in NRL. If not, we'll be watching closely in IRO, and then a very close eye out for the next MTS series, which we're going to get here in 2026. What a great way to start off a Sunday. Mullet, thanks again for joining me. We will watch closely to see how things are progressing for you through the next year, and maybe we'll be able to do a follow up, a year from now, and kind of see how things have gone.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being the first one of hopefully many more for you to come.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. All right. Mullet, enjoy your day. Everybody out there, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate all the comments. And I see the chat was blowing up, but I couldn't pay attention to it. I was trying to stay into the interview. So I'm going to go back and rewatch and check everybody's comments out. Thank you all for joining us. We'll catch